Hi folks, welcome back to my shop. As you can see, I'm in my shop. Just returned from Brian Block's up in Kentucky. It's a 2,500 mile road trip and I'm tired. Tonight I'm going to start a series of videos of a tour that I took of Brian's shop. Now, Brian was very gracious and he gave us the nickel tour. Showed us all the machines and everything, and there's so much of it I just can't do it in one video. I'm not really sure, maybe 2, maybe 3. I'm trying to keep it to 20 minutes at a time. We'll see. Thank you for all the new subscribers. I'm truly overwhelmed at the numbers that this week has brought. Now, I know a lot of you new people are from the truck videos that I've been doing on my Chevy diesel truck that's been giving me hell. That's been resolved so far. I'm happy. I've got news on the other truck that you see. As soon as I get the okay to tell you about it, I will. But thank you for coming. We do a lot of stuff at my shop. It's not all truck related. I like to buy trucks that don't have to be worked on. I hope I got one. But if it needs a bumper or anything like that, we'll weld one up. I've got a full machine shop here that can do just about anything I want to right now. Got a little bit of CNC. We're going to build a CNC plasma table in about, well, just as soon as I get all the rest of these machines out of the way. I've got a new radial drill that's in great shape. Just got to clean it up and move all the metal upstairs so I can put it over in the corner. This tool and cutter grinder is going over into the second little machine shop. I got a Bridgeport back there. We're going to do a full repair and restore. Here, I have a 22-foot planer bed machine, open side planer. I can plane things 8 feet long, 32 inches wide, and 32 inches tall. So I can make almost any of these machines get a ride on my bed, and then we'll hand scrape them back to their original accuracy if we need to. There's a Monarch 10EE back there that's almost ready to go. My friend Don's got to paint it. I can't run a blue lathe that ugly. Oh, got an old Camelback over there. And a few other things in the main machine shop that we're going to work on. But as soon as that's done, I promised Don that I'd put together the plasma table. I built a CNC plasma table / wood carving table. It'll take a 4x8 sheet of plywood and we're going to make it completely plasma. Don really wants to play with it. Now, with that being said, I want to mention something about Brian Block's shop. If you can see mine, it's cluttered. It's got stuff everywhere and I keep packing it in here every time I find a good deal. That's okay with me. I understand a lot of people can't stand cluttered and everything. My wife, she has to sit there and put everything in proportion before she can cook a meal, clean off the countertops, everything. Me, I guess I could throw it on the floor and be okay with it. I understand different people. That's okay. I work and so many things going on. Things get tossed in where I can and I go on to the next project and that's just the way it's going to be for a while. The reason I mention this is Brian Block shop looks just like this one or worse. And I'm going to tell you why it does. Brian Block is an excellent machinist. He kind of specializes in bigger things for tractors right now. Lifters, manifolds. I'll put a link to his channel. You truck guys may learn something from him. He builds things for pulling tractors a lot and really neat stuff. Now, Brian Block does that on the weekends and nights. He's got a full-time job at the John Deere dealership. Then he's got a YouTube channel, and believe me, editing these videos takes a lot of time sometimes. And then he farms his property around his house, grows corn and soybeans. The man never sleeps. He's got a work ethic that I've never seen before. So I'm going to give him a little slack on how messy his shop is, and I'm hoping you will too. With that said, let's get to it. How old are you, Bailey? Woof, woof. Ryan says Bailey is excited because she gets to drive soon. Come here, Bailey. I brought you presents.
Yeah, look at this big fancy cat bed.
I brought Bailey homage to the murder chickens. And then I've heard that you've been slacking off, Brian. So I brought a pet bed for Bailey to sit right here and watch you work.
But the only problem is, it's just like all my other pet beds, it's too small. I'm going to hang off all the ends of it.
He was the biggest one they had.
I know, and that's the way they come. He says, I don't know why they don't make them for adult-sized dogs, but you ever seen the picture of the one up there in the house where he's laying on it, and he's laying head off one end and ass off the other?
Brian, I was looking at this big blue thing that you seem to have really did a nice job putting back together. Frankly, I was shocked when I saw you doing it. I was shocked that it even worked, and I'm proud as hell of you for doing it.
It's back in one piece.
It works.
And it's holding a pretty good bit of weight. That's a 2-inch thick piece of steel they've got on there to adapt that DC motor on there that's added to it. So it's got plenty of counterbalance.
You know,
some of this I didn't do. There's been people welding on this before me. So
there's other fumble fingers in the world.
Yeah.
The look on your face when that cable broke, you showed a lot more restraint than I would have.
Well, when it threw that granite surface plate off the ground, it was sitting over there about 2 inches.
Yeah.
It shook the camera. You knew it was a pretty good lick, but the floor actually took it pretty good.
I was surprised because that floor wasn't that old when you put.
Now it's only a week old when it hit it, and it didn't break any of the tubes in it for the heat. It all still works and doesn't leak. So.
Well, I will tell you this. When you look at your building from the outside, it looks small. Till you get inside and look around, it's 40 by 60. It's quite large. And you've always impressed me by getting out here and doing things by yourself. Putting all those damn steel I-beams up there by yourself was, I don't know if I'd even tried.
It was interesting since basically had to cut the posts out to put the beams underneath of them.
Yeah.
Had to brace back each one to the roof, to the section below it, and then stand it up underneath of it. The last one was the trickiest one. The rest of them there was all little bracing for, but the last one there wasn't anything left to brace off of.
Well, it looks like it's pretty watertight. It's been raining and don't see a lot of water in here.
Yeah, no, it's been raining pretty hard this morning.
One of the things that I noticed when I got in here was how big this thing is. It doesn't look half that size. Now, I just bought a Radial Arm Drill. I can reach and get to the top on my tippy toes. This thing...
It's twice as tall as you are.
Yeah, it's 12, at least 12 feet up there. Good God.
Yeah, I had to be super careful hauling it in here because it was a foot over 13.6, so.
Well, those are kind of like speed limit guidelines, you know.
On the interstate, everything's supposed to be a minimum of 15 unless it's marked, so.
Yeah. Well, I kind of brought back a planer from Kansas, and that guideline about the weight limit that you're supposed to have, it really doesn't apply if you go by the weigh stations at night on a secondary road.
Well, that's like, they told me this thing weighed 22,000 and the reality is it was way over 30. So they just missed it about 8,000 pounds.
Man, that's huge. Well, take me a little tour of your shop while I'm here. As you know, I do a lot of shop tours, and lately been finding all kinds of tools. People are interested in them, and I've decided I could probably sell most of this in here. How much you want for this Radial Arm?
So way more than I paid for it. It's got a lot of time invested in it now. So it's got, I don't know, 2-3 weeks of labor in it.
Hell, you've got $2,000 in welding rods.
So I got the little 7-foot arm, 19-inch Carlton drill. That's, like I said, about 30,000 pounds at the table on it. So that's the, I guess, the first little tool. That was the first. Every shop's first tool usually is a drill press. So this was the first machine tool that came in the shop was this thing.
Was this drill press?
Was the drill press. So
you know, most people have like a 16-inch drill press, not a 7-foot drill press.
So it's all about economies of scale. So if I want to drill a hitch in the back of your truck, so I just swing the arm over and back in.
Just drill it in.
Just drill it in there. Well, it makes it a whole lot easier. You don't have to pull mag drills. But I got them too. They're super handy. That's what let me drill the 660 holes that are in those I-beams.
Wow.
For all those 3/4-inch bolts that hold the bridge crane together.
That's a lot of bolts.
So yeah, a lot of holes to cut. And they all had to line up too, because everything was done on the ground. So once it was stood up, it all had to be cut correct to where everything lined up, so it was all square, plumb, and true.
Especially since you did it all by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that?
Now, that is the big heat treating oven. That's a 2200 degree heat treat oven. You can put a crankshaft or something in there after you weld on it, and it'll handle parts about 3 feet long by not quite 2 foot square. So that's the big heat treat oven. I got a littler heat treat oven that's up in the other shop. I've not actually ever powered this one up and used it yet. That's probably a company in Louisville was going out of business.
They had
and I just picked it up. It's sitting where it's going to actually belong. I'm pretty sure this is going to be its forever home. It's close to the power supply because it takes 25,000 watts to run it, so you don't want to run a lot of cable too far. But the panel over there can handle it, so
looks like we're
all designed in.
Standing by your welding area.
Yeah, this is the welding and cutting area.
Is that a turbo?
That is a turbo compressor housing that's being resized for a different application for particular rules in the class. So been welding on that.
I like your vise. Your welding table.
Yeah, welding table's a slug for. That's going to be one of the bushings for a boring bar for the boring mill. Sometime there's several more of them sitting over on the floor. But so I got the 330 amp miller, TIG stick welder, the Hypertherm 200 amp plasma cutter, and then my little Hobart 230 Iron Man, which is essentially like an older Miller 210.
It's a nice press.
Yeah, it's my Dake 75-ton hydraulic press with the injection pump fuel system on the back to power the thing. That's pretty cool. It's a variable displacement pump using a fuel injection pump.
Off of a vehicle?
That's the way Dake did it. Yeah, it's like a 1950s era injection pump, like what would have been on like a D4 Caterpillar, and they retrofitted it to use, because basically, you know, typically the governor is on the back end here, and this is the rack that controls your fuel delivery. Well, what they did was they just put a mechanical rod on here that controls the rack. So when it's at zero rack, there's no oil pumping, and then as you increase rack travel, it pumps more and more and more. Then there's 4 cylinders worth of oil all manifolded together to run the ram to make it pump up and down.
And how many ton will it go?
75 ton.
And how much you want for it? I'm sorry, I can't help myself.
This is not one of your typical sale deals. All this has been acquired.
Okay.
This is not going away.
Bailey says he needs more space for his bed, so you're in trouble.
That's true, but his bed is usually in the house. He doesn't like the concrete so much anymore.
Well, that's why I brought him a nice, comfy one.
Yeah.
You know, he can't watch over you out in the house too much. So just trying to.
He uses
You're about.
The closed circuit security camera footage to keep an eye on. So
he's high tech, dog.
Yeah, he's high tech. So tool cutter grinder there, Hammond 10-inch.
That's a nice. I like the water tables for it.
Yeah, it's got good cooling setup on it. It's gonna go. All the grinding department's gonna be back in there. I'm gonna bring the Thompson down. And it's going to sit back there, and that grinder's going to go back in there, and my bench grinder's going to go back in there. And then I'll move the drill back, and the drill's going to sit here at the end where I can still clear stuff in and out of the headstock too, so I can get a 4-inch bar through there if I need to. And it'll clear the column on the radial arm drill, but that motor that's sticking out that you keep hitting your head on will swing on the top of this motor, and it'll take up a lot less floor space. That way I can double down.
You're a brave man. I'll move that again. Look at all the little ones.
So yeah, that's my quick use stuff for the lathe has been accumulating in here. Got some lathe dogs like Bailey, chuck jaws, carbide tooling. Nothing.
Should have brought you a care package of lathe jaws. I've got so many I'll never use.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch more over there on the floor. So it's a little 40 by 16 foot monarch.
Little, he says.
Little.
You know,
I ran a lathe one that you rode the carriage on one time. So that's why I consider a big lathe. 8-foot swing, and it wouldn't have fit in this building because it was over a 60-foot bed.
I like these lathes. You know, it's like standing at a wall running a control panel. It's so huge.
Well, the one thing about, this lathe compared to light is that they did a good job of having everything that the operator needed on the carriage, control all your rapids for the movement.
Well, it's a long way down to the other end.
Yeah, because when you're working down there, you're 16 feet away. But I'm going to move that digital readout. I don't know why they put it up there, because if you are down there at the end, it's awful hard to see from 16 feet away. It should have been on the carriage, but whoever installed it, I think was the same people that butchered this. It had it all cut out. And I welded all that back up and rebuilt that to make it look decent instead of having the big gouge out job that they had on there where there was a 1/2 inch material deep gone totally out of that. So
I've got a 16-inch that I think somebody dropped something on. It's got a cover back on that side that it's all foobarred. You need to come weld it up for me, please.
So, you should have just brought it with you. I could have welded it up and took it back.
I've been using that Easy TIG cast iron stuff. You don't have to preheat it.
Yeah.
No cooling. Works well.
So there's some more tooling. I bought all this stuff down in Georgia, and Keith Rucker hauled it up here when he brought that steam engine that I bored out. So I've been working on getting it sorted through and put away, what of it's any good and what of it isn't. But most of the tool holders are good, but I'm out of carts, so I need to get more carts to put this stuff on, because I like to keep my lathe tooling on carts so I can roll it to wherever I'm working on the lathe. Started doing some more of the actual shop wiring for stuff that's going to stay where it is. So I've got a 240 volt 3-phase panel and a 480 volt 3-phase panel, depending on what I'm powering. I can just hook them up. And it's twin both sides of the shop. They wired the same way because there's 240 and 480 machines on both sides. We got the World War II dynamometers. It's just sitting here waiting for me to take it apart and go through it. It'll go probably in its own building next door here eventually. And then
I remember when you put in your floor, you put in the tubes in it. Has that been working, or?
Yep, that's what keeps it from freezing in here in the wintertime is that hot water heater. I just turn it on, and it's enough to keep the temperature in here usually 10 degrees above whatever ambient is outside roughly, with no insulation in the ceiling.
Yeah.
So, which is enough to keep everything in here from freezing in the wintertime, but you know, it's only 5,000 watts, so you're not putting a whole lot of power in here. With an actual boiler that's outside, you could heat this pretty good, but you have to tend to that, and this just takes care of itself, other than paying the bill. So.
Think a wood fired, or?
Yeah, it's a wood fire. They have plenty of wood here to burn, so I can do that. I really want to say that there's some outfits in Canada that make a water to air heat pump. And I'd like to look into getting one of those, maybe used as the backup system to be a base load, basically what it takes, you know, put 20,000-30,000 BTUs in the wintertime to keep everything warm, and then if it gets real cold, it can supplement it with the wood heat, because there's multiple places, you know, this is plumbed in here and the circulating pump's going once the heat's off, so this will turn it off, but then there's mains that go outside of the building that go down to the big boiler.
Well, I remember when you poured this, it was like 12, 16 inches thick.
Oh no, it's closer to 3 feet thick.
3 feet, oh, excuse me.
Because the board mill has to have 18 inches underneath of it.
Each one of the...
And those pits are 12 inches deep, so it's got to be a minimum of 18 plus 12.
Yeah.
So yeah, the floor back here is almost 3 feet thick, and then it tapers in the front where the radial drill is probably only about 15 or 16 inches.
Is that the dynamometer's
That's
control
the
panel?
Oh yeah, that goes with the dynamometer from World War II.
Remember when you hauled that in here?
So.
I also remember, for those of you that don't know Brian's channel, Brian has this aversion to jackhammers. I watched this man, who's a hell of a lot more man than I am, take a 20-pound sledgehammer, 16, 18, 20 pound, and beat the crap out of the old cowl fixtures in here, and then pour this floor by himself.
Ran right through here. It was about 6 or 8 foot wide slab of concrete. I busted it all up. Sledgehammer.
Says jackhammers are expensive, sledgehammers are free.
That's right. Nobody wants to use one of them.
Not me. I'll give you all I have.
This is for NASA. This is aerospace stuff. You know, this is the machine to put the man on the moon kind of deal. So, you know, it can go to 750 with this.
750 with that.
750 with this big chuck, which is
sound like an aircraft engine.
Why it has to have a steel chuck on it, because it would explode a cast iron one. Here's in here. This is where it gets good.